Welcome back to It Resolves, where we play a new deck every single day. Today's deck is Abzan Legends. What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another standard gameplay video. I hope you guys are doing well. It's great to be back. Today is the second day back, and I am very stoked because I want to get ahead. I want to try and do some more cool stuff. I mentioned this in yesterday's video. We've got some really great ideas. We've got some really fun things happening, hopefully in the near future, but it takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of work, and we still have to maintain. And so I want to make sure that we're pre-recording, getting as much ahead as we can, so that way at the end of this year and hopefully into next year, we can bring you guys a little something special, a little something extra. But we'll talk about that as we get closer to time. I want to talk about today's deck really quick. So, following with the theme of taking somebody else's deck and kind of just manipulating slightly where I feel it is needed. In this case, I only made one swap, but the original list is Hello Good Games Abzan Legends list. This deck is very, very powerful. Does not feature Mirror Box like you might expect. It's nothing like that, but it does feature a ton of legendary creatures that you can ideally get a lot of extra value from, and we'll talk about that as we go through. I did make one small change, as I mentioned, which was to remove a basic removal spell and instead put Henrika Domnathi in here. Now, this is a legendary creature, fits with the theme of the deck, but as it comes, at the beginning of combat on your turn, you choose one that hasn't been chosen. So each player either sacrifices a creature, you draw a card and lose a life, or you transform Henrika, all of which are relatively good. The important thing to note here is with things like this guy, which I never try and say the name. Whenever another legendary creature you control dies, you get a token of that creature, except it's a 2/2 in addition to everything else, and it's a zombie, so it actually gets vigilance thanks to this guy. So all that to say, if you throw this down, sacrifice a creature immediately just to get something powerful off the opponent's side of the field, you can actually get a little added value thanks to, you know, the sack value off of potentially getting something back. You really don't lose too much. There's a lot of added benefit there. As you can tell, the core of the deck is King Darren along with this Urborg Henrika, and then of course the Sadistic Pilgrim here, giving us a little extra life gain, and then of course anytime another creature you control dies, your opponent loses the life. Very, very powerful. We do have Nirmata, the Primeval Warden, as a sacrifice outlet for any of our Sapperling tokens, which again does trigger the Pilgrim, and you can get some added benefit, of course, anytime a creature an opponent controls dies, so some added benefit there. A lot of the rest of the deck is very removal focused. We've got March, we've got Cut Down, we've got Fateful, we've got Infernal Grasp, and then of course Meathook Massacre for the big sweep. We do also have Wedding Announcement here, giving us just a little added card draw, as well as some extra creatures to sacrifice if we need, or whatever we see fit. The lands are not super techy. We do have Plaza of Heroes, but that's about it. Iganjo, the Abandoned Mire, and then Beseju are also here just as one of each. I did consider, as we did with yesterday's deck, adding the draw lands in, but I think it's really important for this deck not to be playing tapped lands as much as possible, at least, and so I didn't feel like it was necessary to add those in. I think Hello Good Game did a really good job with this list, so I'm not going to change too much. I think it's just that Henrika that we're going to try out today. I did play with the initial list just to kind of get a good gauge on how well it would do on the ladder. As far as I'm concerned, it should be pretty good, but I haven't tried the Henrika yet, so this is going to be a new experience for us. Let's give it a shot though, guys. Let's see what we can do. Let's have some fun today. All right, guys, and here we are for game number one, and yeah, I mean, this is pretty easy keep. I think the plan will be to play the Overgrown Farmland first and then play the Swamp. That'll give us all colors of mana on turn 2, depending on, you know, what we need and things like that. That's just a very helpful way to go. And then, of course, we've got the Shattered Sanctum, double black already in the hand for the Henrika, and then, of course, all the mana we need for King Darren as well. So, great start. Definitely some good removal options as well, especially if we aren't playing anything pressuring until turn 3. So, very, very nice. King Darren, if you haven't played with King Darren yet, guys, obviously you should by now, but King Darren just gives you so many phenomenal options to protect your board, do some fun stuff. I really, really like it. All right, so let's see what the opponent is up to here. We've got a Shipwreck Marsh, we've got the Grixis land, definitely a bit of a scary play. I think it's pretty clear we're just gonna go King Darren and go. I don't think we need to do too much else. If they've got a cut down, that's fine, sure. No reason to sacrifice King Darren, obviously, we don't have any tokens, so Not gonna hurt anything here. Henrika might be quite good here. We'll see. The fact that we can use Henrika pretty much immediately is quite nice. All right, cool. So let's play the Glade. I think we'll just go ahead and play Henrika. So now the question is, do we want to, I don't think we want to sack. Do we want to draw, or do we want to just transform Henrika? I think we will draw. I'm not 100% positive on that. We know they have cut down, and so that is a little bit scary, but I think we do kind of want to dig further into the deck. I'm assuming they've got plenty of options for removal here, and so transforming, while very, very good, yep, they had Infernal Grasp, but they were going to be able to deal with her anyway, and so I think it's good we definitely went for the card draw there over the other options. The only other one that would have been okay was just to kind of basically sack off the Henrika just to get rid of this, but I don't think we needed to, so. Okay. Very nice. So they do get to draw a card here, basically, which is annoying, but not the end of the world. So while they're tapped out and can't negate anything, I guess we'll just go ahead and double up on all this. I don't know that we necessarily have to, but it just makes it a little bit easier later on, potentially. I do want to hold one Fateful Absence for sure, because I don't know if this is going to be like a Reanimator style deck. It could be a lot of things. Good news is they are just drawing a card here, which, I mean, it's good news, bad news, but you never know. There's the Fable, sure. Okay, sure. I will definitely take that. Not super great, of course, but I'm gonna leave up the Fateful Absence. There is always the old trick of Fateful Absencing your own creature just so you can get that card draw, and this is surprisingly a perfect turn to potentially do that, depending on how things go, of course, here. From the standpoint of we have the exact right amount of mana to do it, so definitely could be quite good. Sure. It's definitely scary. We may want to just kind of remove that pretty quickly, but we'll see. All right. I guess technically we should have done this already, but that's okay. I will happily discard a card here. They do not get the token in that regard, which is great. And they also invested a little bit of mana into doing that. Not a lot, but it's fine. I don't think we block. I think we make them have the removal spell here, because I think we stand to gain a bit more than they do out of the deal. So let's pass here, leaving up the March. What I'd like for them to do is create a token copy of the Goblin, and then in response, we actually Wretched Sorrow the Goblin token. And what we can do is actually invest a lot into the March just to gain the life. The worst case scenario is they have negate, of course. That's not ideal, but it is what it is. Can't do too much about it, so. Definitely some bad draws here. We got a little bit flooded as well. Definitely not ideal. Okay, so in this case, I'm just gonna go ahead, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's just 5. I'll go ahead and try and hit this for 5. That should gain us some life and get rid of this trigger on the stack, which just means they don't get a token. So that's fine. Ooh, that's scary. All right, so this is the Tainted deck. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. This is definitely a tricky one. I think we go ahead and take the block now, knowing that they will probably just end up shooting this anyway. All right. Well, while it's not a great draw, it is a draw, and so we'll throw it out there. This is certainly not great, though. I mean, the reality is we are not going to be able to draw out of this super easily. Honestly, just having something like a Meat Hook Massacre or something, just to get some of these lower cost things off the field, would at least minimize the damage we could be taking. But the reality is we're kind of just having some bad luck on that one, and that's the case. It's fine. Yep, I think we can probably good game them here, but I will give it one more draw unless they just go absolutely nuts, which they could, so. Yep. So we save ourselves the maximum amount of damage that we can. They get another token here. That's just insane. So this is gonna be what? Oh man. Yeah, I think we can safely good game them here. They definitely have us, that's fine. They only attacked with the, well, it's fine. Didn't matter anyway. Let's go ahead, let's jump into game 2. This month's Patreon rewards features the amazing tutor pack with some of the most powerful tutors in Magic's history. If you'd like to learn more or sign up today, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/itresolves. All right, guys, here we are for game number 2. How do we feel about this hand? Not great in general, but we do have a nice 3 into plenty of 4s. I'm gonna try. Normally I would say don't keep a hand like this. I would like to get some removal or at least something else, but we'll do the best we can with it. We do have the mana we need for the most part, which is great. Cool, looks like going to be a very potentially annoying game. What's nice is we can make them sacrifice this and they can't really do a ton about it, potentially. Yep, whatever, deals combat damage to player, draw a card, sure. This is a very, very good card. Yep. Okay. I'm curious what ends up being the right play here, honestly. Wow, okay. All right, so let's definitely do this. I think we, actually meant to play King Darren, but I guess we'll just play the wedding announcement. That's totally fine. I was actually gonna play the King Darien solely because that will buff up the Henrika and allow us to flip her into a, what, 4/5 with Flying, Death Touch, and Lifelink, which is all really, really good. But it's fine. Not great. I would love a Meat Hook Massacre. That would be pretty amazing right now, honestly. Sure. This deck is a really, really cool one if you don't know what this is. Basically, it focuses on cards like Storm Chaser Drake, which capitalize very heavily off of just hitting them with some really easy kind of combat tricky style cards, as well as holding these enchantments like Combat Research quite well, which allow them to get in for evasive damage pretty quickly. It's a very, very good strategy. It's also a very annoying strategy if you've not been against it before. Let's see how this goes. So the question becomes, do we make them sack a creature or do we just transform? Either one is pretty important, truthfully. They could just March of Swirling Mist too. I don't know what this deck might have. I think the safest play is probably to flip unless they just counter this, which they might. Kind of unfortunate game here because, again, if we had a Meat Hook Massacre, we could have at least dealt with the 1. Or really any removal spell, and we just kept a hand without removal. That was kind of just our bad. But, you know, it happens. No stress at all. No stress at all. No reason to get overly worried about something like that. It's just a bad keep. And, you know, it's cool. We could also just draw a card, but I think I'm going to transform, hoping that we can keep this on the field, but we'll see. All right. I mean, they didn't have a bounce spell there. That's pretty important to note. I fully expected them to, but that's fine. Targets a single larva, create a token. Okay, cool. Wow. Well, we definitely block, hoping that they can't do too much here. They might be able to. Okay. Sure. That's kind of fine. We still gain the life out of the deal, and we keep them from drawing at least a card, so that's fine. It's not great, don't get me wrong, but it's not the end of the world. All right. HQ with... Okay. Let's do this. I think the actual safer play would have been the Urborg here, actually, but I think this is okay. We do gain a life out of the deal. I'm going to attack with the 2/2 because there's really no reason not to. Excellent. All right, that flips. That's also helpful. All right, so at the very least, we have got an impactful board. The reality is if they can deal with Henrika, though, we are pretty much stuck. So we basically have to hope that doesn't happen. We probably should have played the Urborg out, but I did kind of want to power up the board and get in for some pressure next turn before they're able to overpressure us. So they have got some pressure on the board, certainly, but we are actually protecting against at least a little bit of that. So the hope is that we're able to stave off for a turn and then get in further once we go. We will see. Not overly ambitious about it. Honestly, a Meathook Massacre would do wonders here. Just sweeping for one even would get 3 of their things off of the board here and really put them in a trickier position at the very least. But, you know, it is what it is. We also have to assume they've got plenty of options for saving their creatures, so it might be worth it for us to save... Oh, interesting. Okay. Light Paws. I love it. All right. Nice. So they don't have a different aura, do they? That's really interesting. Okay, and they did not attack. Very good. Okay, that's actually really, really good for us. Interesting. All right, so how do we want to do this? So I don't think we can attack there. All right, so let's do this. Okay. So we do gain a life out of that. That's helpful. Now the question is, do we just attack with all of these? Given that they can't really block anything, I think it's kind of okay to do this. And we'll see what they actually do. I'm curious how they block here. So anytime either of these dies, we actually just get it back as a 2/2, which is quite nice. We'll see how they decide to react here. They do have 1 mana available as well. That is very worth noting. Interesting. Okay. I'm curious as to why they're double blocking there and not just kind of bouncing. I guess they just really want to kill King Darien, which is kind of fine by me. I don't really... Basically, we're just trying to outpressure them, is all that this amounts to. That's it, huh? Yeah, I'm gonna take one of these tokens with me, and that's it. Unless they have a better answer here. In which case, we can still just sack King Darien, so that's not really a problem. Really, you're gonna... Why that one? Why not this one? Okay. I wasn't gonna kill that one anyway, so that felt like a very kind of useless way of doing it, but that's fine. So now we can sack this again at any time and give all of our tokens indestructible again. So I'm not saying we're out of the woods, but we're at least putting up a fight. I thought we were definitely just 100% dead. I don't think that's the case. However, I still don't feel very good about this. Yeah, that's very good. Such a cool little card, by the way. Ivy is very awesome. All right. Yeah. So these both target each other now, and you get a copy of Light Paws, but I'm pretty sure... Okay, so it doesn't become legend. Yeah, okay. That's really cool. What a nice little combo here. Vesuvian Duplimancy. Very awesome card. So they did have other auras. They just chose not to... If you cast it, you can search. Yeah. Interesting. Well, that's fine. Let's make sure we know what this does. Guidance from the group. Okay, so they can just replay it. That's not a big deal. They only have 3 mana left. They can't, I don't think, at least kill us this turn, so I feel like that's okay. We have to leave the Henrika back, I believe. We do have the ability to pump up a lot of our creatures, so that's something that we should consider in the upcoming turns, but yeah, we'll see. I'm curious as to what the opponent ends up doing here. 3 mana left, a grip full of cards. That's certainly a bit scary, but we might be able to get there. Let's hope. Again, I still maintain like a, oh, nice. So again, we just sacrificed this. That's kind of a wasted effort. It's a good way to get it off the field, don't get me wrong, but it's not like saving them necessarily. Truthfully, I just think like a good solid meat hook massacre would do wonders right now. We just sweep for like 4 and leave the Henrika up. We've got backup for basically everything, so seems pretty reasonable to me. All right, so this is kind of nice because this does have reach, and we can do this. All right, so let's see, they block these two, no problem. Do we just attack here and here? So we can pump up. Huh. Not sold on this, but we're gonna try it. Really not sold on this at all, but we're gonna do the best we can. All right, so we do have the way of pumping this up, which pumps up at least this and this, so that's helpful. Okay. I'm sure they have another Tamiya's, whatever. Safekeeping. I would not be surprised at all. I think we try and kill that one. Let's activate here. Sorry guys, I'm like in the tank right now thinking. Okay, I have no clue if this works out. Not even planning for it, but I think it's okay. We get a lot of these little guys. All right. Theoretically, we set ourselves up for a good solid win next turn. I don't know that for sure, but I feel like that was probably just our best option to get a bunch of stuff off of the field and kind of make it a little more tricky for them. Okay. Wow, what a game. This has been a really fun game, honestly. I'm glad we had Henrika. Honestly, I will say that was a pretty solid add-in for this deck. I feel like that was pretty necessary, given how things have gone. I think that that's important, so I'm very happy with that. We'll see what the opponent's up to this time. If they even attack, they certainly can with a little bit, but they do have to be wary that we've got more than 7 damage available at this point. We can also just point these like pretty heavily in the right direction here. So I'm gonna play this first, solely because that hits that. The creature you control dies. So what we could do is like start pumping up some stuff, but I don't actually think we have to. I'm just gonna start pushing through. I don't think there's a reason not to. Do have 1 activation there. Yeah, I think we just attack with all, except for this. Truthfully, even this is kind of a safe bet. That might have been a mistake, but it's okay. I do like leaving something back here from the standpoint of if we don't make it through this attack step, or if they make it through the attack step, just having something as a backup is probably pretty important, but that's fine. Okay. Okay. That's fine. So whenever one of our things dies, they lose a life. That's fine. And again, we can pump up some of our stuff anyway. Okay. Wow, they're not gonna kill that. That's pretty intense. Maybe they are. Wow, what a game this has been. I'm just astounded. This has been really fun. I think we just pass, actually. I don't actually think we need to. Does enough stuff die on our side to trigger? I think it does exactly enough, right? We also just gain a bunch of life. There it is. That was a sick game. I'm so stoked for that. Wow. Henrika, man, coming through on that one. That was amazing, guys. Unfortunately, we are kind of running up on time here. I'm going to go ahead and call it a bit short, but let's go ahead and wrap this one up. All right, so out of 2 games, we did get 1 win, and honestly, a really good game too. That was a tricky one. I do think that deck is probably really well suited to beating our deck. I don't know about some of the opponent's plays / blocks. I don't know if I was 100% on board with that. And truthfully, I'm not 100% sure about our attacks, let me be clear. But it did work out for us, and I do think this deck has a lot of resilience. So hello, good game. Thank you so much for sharing this initial list. I do like the Henrika ad. I don't know what it is. I kind of forgot about that card, and then I was doing a little bit of digging just to see what I could add, if anything. And that kind of caught my eye, and I'm really glad that I did, because I feel like Henrika gives you certain outs that you wouldn't necessarily have otherwise. Also gives you a little bit of extra potential card draw and just some other options there. So all in all, really enjoyed this deck. Didn't get 100% win rate, of course. It was only 2 games, so I'm not too upset by that. But again, that second game, oh, just amazing. Absolutely amazing, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below, and if you're not already, make sure you subscribe. We did just have new Patreon rewards go up earlier this week, I guess, last weekend. And so if you do want to pick those up, please feel free as well. Links, of course, are down below. But guys, thank you again. I will see you hopefully tomorrow for some more gameplay videos.